Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Melanie, the Silver Lock trainer here. Trader, not trainer. Definitely not trainer. It's evening, it's dark, everybody's asleep. I should be too, but I'm babysitting this trade I'm in, hoping that it will come a little closer to a position where I can get out of it and not bleed so badly. It is not going in my favor at the moment. I probably either executed this wrong. I'm not quite sure what I did wrong on this trade. I'll have to think about it when after I've gotten some sleep and after I've gotten out of it. But for now, I'm in a trade, so I thought, hey, story time. Maybe by the time I'm done with story time, I can jump back over and look at the chart and it have come a little bit in my favor. But I think I left off talking about how I took trade and travels training. I invested in that to begin the education part of this process, and very, very happy to have invested in that. It was quite costly, but it laid a really firm foundation. And so, but how I started it, I did her 1 week. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the other video, but I did start with the 1 week, take your first trade. I did paper money with that and kind of just getting familiar with pushing the buttons. And from there, went ahead and invested in her program and started diving into the trainings and taking notes, which I realize now I didn't have to, but maybe I did. Maybe I did need to actually handwrite and write it down. But just really started diving into training. And not only that, there were some other trainers that were YouTube trainer on YouTube that just were interesting to me. And so what you'll find is at the beginning, it's like learning a new language. It's like being immersed into a culture that is not your own. So in hindsight, looking back, I'm kind of glad I'm definitely glad I started with trade and travel, but it also helped to go into YouTube and hear other people explain how they position themselves, how they do these trades in their own language. Because what you'll find is that the strategies per se are pretty similar. Everybody has a different way of saying it. Everybody has a different way of explaining it. Everybody has their own approach, and that can become overwhelming. You can get to the point, because there was a time where I was like, what? But then I got to say, oh, okay, they're talking about support, they're talking about resistance, but they're calling it this. Or they're talking about, something, but they're calling it this way. Whereas Terry called it this way, they're calling it something else. So that I just had to hang in there in that spirit and just say, okay, even though this is all overwhelming in a very different language, people have different dialects, I guess we'll call it, within that language that they learn to adapt for themselves as they learn their particular strategies. So there was a lot of that at the very beginning. I was pretty much YouTubing all day. I would do her trainings in the morning, and then in the afternoon and the evenings, I would be on YouTube all night, just watching other people approach it. Still, probably just learning how to look at charts, learning how to mark them up, just learning the basics. And I spent a lot of time just learning the basics. I don't think I was paper trading just yet because I was still too brand new. Everything was just too ununderstandable, undistinguishable. So I was kind of like, I'm not sure if I feel comfortable enough to even paper trade at this point. So I think I was training. Let's see, I started maybe the end of April, May. I did trade and travel for pretty much that month of May. I think I did invest in another trading program, but I can't think of his name right now. And I did his, and his was great too. It was Christopher. Is it Christopher Jackson? And he's in South Carolina. I think that's what kind of endeared me to him. He's a neighbor. But he kind of had his own vernacular, and it took to me too. And he would come on and actually trade live once or twice a week. I think on Wednesdays he would come and actually trade live, which I found helpful as well. Because again, when you're doing this all by yourself, every little bit of watching somebody being over watching over somebody's shoulder is so helpful. Um, it's ideal if you could find a mentor. I just couldn't find one. So, you guys, I was doing this all on my own, just with the training and whatever little bits and pieces I could find. Um, so, yeah, I would do Terry all morning and, take copious notes with her, and then do Christopher Jackson at night, kind of watching his YouTubes, and anybody else's I found interesting. I just watch them. So that's kind of the very, very beginning out. Once I made the decision to do this, that was like the very beginning steps, the tiny baby steps of just jumping in. And I just jumped in and I was determined to put in my own effort. My thought was, look, I don't have a job. Nobody's hiring me. So I've got nothing else to do with my day. So I may as well use this time to really, really um, just learn, immerse myself. I was a immersion teacher for Japanese, and so when we were doing that, we weren't allowed to speak English to the students at all, and that's kind of how I attacked this. I was like, I'm going to immerse myself in this world. CNBAC, there's a YouTube channel that I found that Real Trader, they trade all day long, and just getting to know their different personalities, their how they approach looking at the charts, because all of them were so very different. And so that began to be very helpful to me as well, in terms of everybody's kind of, you're picking up like, oh, there's no set style to do this, which can also be overwhelming because you really do have to find what works for you. But at the beginning, I was just taking it all in wherever I could get it out, charts, training, YouTube, all day long. It was like that for at least 2 or 3 months. So those were like my beginning steps, how I kind of jumped in. And yeah, I'll come back a little bit and kind of tell you maybe about my first trade, or what were my first stocks and things. How did I get started actually jumping in the market? So, all right, well, thanks for listening, because you ain't got to, those of you who are listening. But I appreciate, just having this to be able to come back to, hopefully in a couple years, and see and remember and reflect on the very beginnings, because this is a journey.